early on, we talked about the Patriot battery systems. Let's look on the other side, go to the offensive, and talk about the delivery of F-16s to the Ukrainian military. Where are we in that process? And to what degree do you imagine that to be, I don't know if we want to use the term game changer, but how would you describe it?
So the F-16 gives Ukraine 4 advanced capabilities that they really don't currently have. Now, as to where we are in the process, I know just last month, U.S. graduated, I believe, 12 graduates from a Air National Guard fighter school in Arizona. These guys are ready to go. They're just waiting on the equipment, and that equipment should be transferred perhaps in the summer. Now, the addition of these F-16s and these 4 capabilities are very, very important. Right now, Ukraine has maybe 78 or so combat-capable aircraft, and none of them have the range to counter Russia's anti-aircraft missiles. Russia flies combat air patrols with their fighters, and they have a special missile called the R-37, which has a range of about 120 miles, estimated, although Russia says it's more. Of course, they're going to say it has greater range. So right now, when a Ukrainian plane takes off, Russia just needs to light them up and fire a missile, and that plane has to head home. It has to go to ground because it will get shot out of the sky. However, with the addition of the F-16, capability 1 is the Amram Missile. This is a long-range air-to-air missile. It doesn't have the same exact range as the Russian R-37, but it closes that gap. It's either 60 miles or 110 miles, depending on the version of the Amram that we send to Ukraine. So that evens the playing field a little bit. It will force Russia to pull back even more. The second capability is that the F-16 has integrated capability with the HARM anti-radiation missile. And an anti-radiation missile goes after radar the way a pig goes after truffles. So the F-16 can fly, and if it gets lit up by a surface-to-air missile radar from Russia, it can turn and it can fire that HARM, or high-speed anti-radiation missile, right down the beam of that Russian radar. And even if Russia turns that beam off, the missile remembers where it is. And that'll force Russia to move its surface-to-air missiles back even further. The third capability is the JDAM-ER, which is a glide bomb, kind of like those Russian glide bombs I've just been talking about. Now, what's kind of neat about these bombs is that they are GPS guided. One of the huge problems we've had with Russia is that they have GPS jammers, which degrade the capability of these glide bombs, these JDAM-ER glide bombs. But one thing the HARM can do is track as home on jam. So if you have a GPS jammer that is giving out a signal, you can fire a HARM missile right down that jammer, and they have to turn it off or risk that thing being destroyed. And again, it remembers where you are. So once we start hitting those jammers, we'll be able to use the JDAM-ER to destroy Russian troop concentrations, command and control centers, supply dumps, and even assist in close air support on the front line. And the fourth thing is the Harpoon anti-ship missile, which will help destroy some of the cruise missile launching platforms that still remain in the Black Sea.
Yeah, I guess a follow-on question, and I'm going to try to avoid the politics of it all. We try to stay focused on developments around the world, crisis, et cetera, here on the PDB. But sometimes, you know, you have to stray a little bit into what any particular administration is doing. Now, the Biden administration spent quite a bit of time trying to decide whether U.S.-provided weapons could be used outside of Ukraine to target structures, facilities, activities inside Russia that are involved in this invasion. With the F-16s, have you heard anything about what are the parameters for use with a weapon like this?
I have not heard of any specific parameters per use, but don't forget, these weapons are technically coming from countries like Belgium, the Netherlands, Denmark. I mean, the U.S. can say whatever they want, but Ukraine is going to use these weapon systems how they see fit. I would not be surprised if the use of the F-16 is restricted to targets within Ukraine, within occupied Ukraine, or perhaps directly on the border with Russia. I do not envision a deep strike straight to Moscow. That would be, number one, extremely difficult, and number two, not really have much of a tactical advantage, and you're risking losing your platforms.